In today's video, we're going to talk about why I believe the Twin Cities hockey player has a competitive advantage against all the other hockey players in the state of Minnesota. And if you live outside the metro, what you need to do, the one thing you need to do to close the gap to give your son or daughter the same advantage. And I'll even break down why it has nothing to do with the association size. This is Hockey Talk with John Swanson. Born and raised St. Cloud, Minnesota, played college hockey for St. Cloud State University, was lucky enough and blessed to play professional hockey for Tampa Bay in Dallas's farm system and in Europe. Since retiring, I have been an off-ice strength and conditioning coach and on-ice skating and skills coach for players in the USHL, Division I and Division III, AHL, NHL, and even the Olympics. Let's jump into today's topic. If you look at the Twin Cities area, and you look at the state hockey tournament at the AA level, single A level, the boys level, the girls level, what you notice is that the metro is always extremely well represented, right? It starts to kind of pit this David versus Goliath scene where the basically outstate teams come in to compete to try to knock them off the hill. And when I started to ultimately look at player development, it started with my daughter. My daughter fell in love with the game. And it kind of pulled me back in and had me look at things differently, more so at a youth level. See, before then I was working a lot more with, Junior A players, Division I players, and professionals, and I wasn't really as much concerned about what is happening at the youth scene until my daughter got into it. And she got invited to go skate in the Twin Cities, and I thought she was a pretty good hockey player, right? I thought she skated well. I thought she was where she needed to be for her age, and she stepped on the ice. And I was blown away. She struggled. She really, really struggled. And it wasn't so much that she wasn't a good hockey player. These kids were next level. And I was literally scratching my head. How could this be? How could these kids be this talented already? What were they doing? And so I started to think of all the excuses, all the reasons why these kids had a competitive advantage. I needed to justify in my head why I had ultimately, as a father, felt like I failed my daughter to prepare her to go skate with these players. And so the first thing I thought of is association size. Well, she comes from a smaller association. They have more competition there. That's why they're better. And I kind of dug in. I looked at, association like Andover, relatively the same size at a girls level to the Riverblades, and our boys size, St. Cloud. So it wasn't association size. Maybe it's coaches, right? It's definitely the coaches on the ice. They have better coaches in the Twin Cities than we do. Well, just take Central Minnesota. Take any one youth association. Take St. Cloud, for example. We have players that have played in the Olympics. We have players that are college coaches. We have players that have played college hockey, junior A hockey. We have a wealth of knowledge on the ice. Maybe it's their practice plans. They have bad practice plans. That's definitely what's happening at the youth level. Bad practice plans. Watch practice. They're working some skills. They're working their team concepts, right? They're trying to prepare their players. It's definitely not the practice plans. Maybe it's the amount of time they're on the ice. Well, if you look at it, St. Cloud youth hockey as a general, they're actually on the ice more than your Edinas or Minnetonka because they don't have the amount of ice availability in the Twin Cities. What could it be? Why is it the Metro has this competitive advantage? And so as a dad, I started to get to know these parents. I was curious. How did their kids get so good? What are they doing to have such a competitive advantage? And initially I got the same answers, right? Oh, they play youth hockey here. They play AAA hockey here. They're doing these things. But it was as I got to know them and kind of reluctantly, they started to share their secret sauce. And this secret sauce is what I believe your son or daughter needs to do if they want to have the same opportunities as those in the Metro have. They started to share their secrets. Well, my son or my daughter actually works with a skating coach. Oh, my son actually does this one stick handling program. Oh, my son is working with this shooting coach here. And see, all of that is very specific skills training. And what I recognized is that when you actually add up the amount of hours, because they started to share the programs they were doing, they actually have a 1-to-1 ratio of skills training to practice time. See, this common thing going around right now is we need to look at practice to game ratio at a youth level. And I'm absolutely a proponent of it, right? I think our youth associations have taken major steps forward from even when I played. The emphasis on practice and teaching the game concepts and how to be a great teammate. But what's interesting is these players that were next level, they were in the same, youth settings of practice to game ratio. But what they were doing is they were supplementing their training with skills training. And they were matching it to about an hour of skills training to an hour of practice time. And interesting enough, if you break it down, if a player skates better, not just linear faster, but they're also more dynamic laterally, they tend to stand out. And the player that can stick handle at an early age better than somebody that can't stands out. And a player that can shoot the puck harder but also higher at a young age tends to stand out. And so they're taking what I believe fundamental skills, and they're driving those home at an early age, specifically in small groups so that they can get the correction they need. And here's why I believe this is so important. If you look at a youth association level, take an example, we just played a team the other night and they passed so much better than us and they beat us. They beat us 5-1. And one of our coaches said, we need to work on our passing. Yes, we do. But hierarchically, you can't work on passing if you don't have the skill that comes before it. And so for a lot of our players in the central Minnesota area, we have to also address the skill development in the proper order. Skating, then it's puck control, and inside of puck control is stick handling, and then you can move to passing. And here's why I believe that. If you work on passing but you can't stick handle, when the player receives the puck, they can't do anything with it. So we have to not only address these skills, but we have to address them in the order that a hockey player needs to use them. Skating as the foundation. You can pretty much never stop working on skating. Then we have puck control, which is the umbrella of the ability to get the puck, to control the puck. Then we have stick handling, which really represents our ability to dribble the puck, to pull the puck. We have our dekes, we have our fakes, and now we have more of the shooting of the puck, which is your passing and your actual shooting to score a goal. These skills are the foundation that our players need. And what's interesting is that in the Metro, they've created small group skills programs, and they're very abundant. And all the top players are spending as much time working on those skills as they are going to practice or playing games. And that was my big takeaway. And so what did I do? I created an environment for my daughter to have an opportunity to catch up. Right? I felt like I owed it to her as a father that had played all this hockey to do something for her so she could have the same opportunities I had. And so we started to work on her stick handling. We started to work on her skating. We started to work on her shooting. And I'll be honest, it wasn't pretty at first. There was times where she cried. She was frustrated. She didn't get it right away, right? It's hard to learn these new skills. But she stayed with it, and we continued to encourage her and to reward her for her hard work. And what was interesting is next time she went and skated with those girls in the Twin Cities, she closed the gap. She wasn't the best by any means, but she had significantly improved. And then we did it again, and the gap got smaller, and the gap got smaller. And now she's head to head, and she's easily able to compete with the girls out of the Twin Cities. And I'm proud. I'm proud that I went through that process and I learned. But then I realized there's something even greater here. It's the ability to share it with all of you. I believe that for us to close the skill gap with the Metro teams, to be able to compete with the teams, it is our mission to give our head coaches at the high school level the most skilled players and the most competitive players. They can only take what we give them at a youth level and really mold it into a team. And so we have to create environments and opportunities where our players have the ability to go work on these subset skills: skating, stick handling, puck control, and ultimately shooting and passing. And that's ultimately why I created X7 Hockey. I want to give players in the central Minnesota area the same opportunity that my daughter had. And so if that's something that you're interested in, feel free to check out x7hockey.com. If not, there's a lot of things that you can do in your garage to start helping your son or daughter get the competitive advantage. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out. I have tons of YouTube videos and things and resources that they could start using at home 100% for free. Thanks for listening, and please give this a share if you found it useful.